many people have tinnitus? How many people have chronic tinnitus all the time? Yeah, not cool. Whistling or ringing in your head, hopefully temporarily, but for some it can become a chronic condition.
What we know is that about 8 million people in the UK have got tinnitus. So it's 1 in 7 adults and actually 1 in 30 under 18s as well. So basically 1 child in every class.
I couldn't even go in the studio, you know, I couldn't have a conversation with someone. I'd be trailing off because that was all I could hear was this phantom noise.
Like a family member that you don't really want to hang around, but they always come at Christmas. Well, they happen to turn up every night.
Once you've lost your hearing, that's it. You're never going to get it back.
If we're going to talk about tinnitus for musicians and music professionals, it has to be authentic.
Education on this is so important. You've got to make sure people understand what could happen before it happens.
Musicians telling their own stories.
I have my ways of coping and managing it.
Tinnitus isn't, it's not a disease, it's a symptom. The brain isn't receiving the signals that it is meant to receive, and it either becomes more sensitive to sound or it starts making up phantom sounds, and that's what tinnitus is.
There's the noise of tinnitus, and there's the kind of the stress, the anxiety that noise can cause. So because your brain is creating these phantom sounds, a different part of your brain then interprets that as a threat. And that's the bit that keeps you awake at night listening for it.
Unfortunately, there isn't a cure. The mainstay of treatment is about how you can manage your symptoms better.
There's so much that you can do to take control of your tinnitus, to beat tinnitus. It does not have to end your career.
As a young person growing up with it, I think it didn't bother me so much. I just thought it was normal. But actually, it's when I started going to see live music, and I did a lot of that when I was younger, a lot of clubbing. That's when I was really noticing that I was finding it more and more difficult.
My career started in the very early 90s. I was just gigging all the time. I didn't really have much downtime, and I was mainly listening to music all the time. And if I wasn't, I was asleep because I was doing sometimes 6 gigs a weekend. I realised I was losing my hearing.
Ex-military, 15 years into bomb disposal. So that allowed me to be in control of demolitions and stuff like that when we were finding live items. Quite loud bangs going off and stuff. Obviously not just rifle range stuff. It was only about after 3 years they brought in Amplivox hearing protection.
Guitar rehearsal with the band, standing too close to the monitor 11 years ago, and I left the room. And I've had tinnitus ever since.
First got it in 1996. 8 years after that, I got it and made it worse by taking an earplug out to do a mix at an outdoor festival. Literally 20 seconds, put it back in, and the tinnitus got worse again.
I've had like a 20-year journey living with tinnitus, from the sheer panic when I realised the ringing wasn't going away to this is here to stay. But I didn't seek advice. It was 10 years later when I sought advice, because it was just like, part of the job. Nobody dare speak about it. I was scared of saying I had tinnitus to anybody, so I just kept quiet about it.
I've had it for 29 years. It's kind of been up and down. Got quite dark a couple of years ago. Was getting some really dark suicidal thoughts, basically.
I went into quite a bad place, quite a few months, and I tried everything. So I tried, chiropractor, I tried hypnotherapy, CBT, drugs, an NHS trial even of injections through the years, which wasn't much fun. And I really got to the point where I decided I needed something a bit different, and I needed to stop fighting it and stop looking for a cure. And really that's, I would say, when my habituation journey started.
I've had moments where I've experienced tinnitus where I can hear the ringing after a gig, for example, or like late in the hours in the morning, I've woken up and I can still hear a little bit of a ring, but never on an extreme level, which is thanks to my earplugs that I've got.
And it was only when I was studying for my degree and for my doctorate that I really started to notice. I mean, like try and sit down in a quiet room when you've got tinnitus and concentrate. You can't. And at this point, I still hadn't reached out to anybody, and I just found ways of coping, listening to music on a low level. And then I started posting about it. And that's when Tinnitus UK approached me. Through speaking to them, they gave me some coping mechanisms and better ways to deal with it.
Yeah, so Tinnitus UK has been going for nearly 50 years, basically helping people all across the UK protect their hearing, look after their hearing, manage their tinnitus, live really well with their tinnitus. If you do feel like you're being fobbed off, fantastic team at Tinnitus UK, staff and volunteers who are trained up to be able to support people with their tinnitus experience, no matter what it is. You could think, I've got this thing, I'm not sure what it is. You could feel fine in yourself, you just want some answers, and you can call them. Or you could be at a point of crisis, and they are trained to be able to help support you if you're at a point of crisis. We're able to work with fantastic partners like ACS on this campaign, and it just means that we're able to reach people that we've never reached before. You know, there are musicians as young as 25 who feel like they have to finish their career because of tinnitus, and that's not true at all. So we want to be here for them as much as anyone else.
The more you understand about tinnitus, which I've had to do from a doctorate, understand how the ear works, what causes hearing damage, what causes tinnitus, what tinnitus is, you can kind of get your head around it.
The reason your body it's constantly in fight or flight because you're like, oh my God, this noise is doing my head in. Distraction is because I'm driving, I'm looking at the road, I'm looking in the car, I'm doing other things. And over time, I don't think about that anymore. If I focus on it, oh yeah, it's still there. It's exactly the same thing with tinnitus. Distraction can help you towards habituation. And habituation is when you don't have a significant emotional reaction towards your tinnitus. TinniSoothe is a wearable white noise device that doesn't need anything in or around your ears. It has a micro adjustment for volume and frequency, and it basically just gives you a small cocoon of white noise. It lasts all day and you can dock it at night, and it really helps you on your habituation journey. It provides relief. Instead of messing around with your ears and trying to distract yourself in multiple ways, it gives you one way to distract yourself from your tinnitus, and it's there the whole time for you.
Went to the doctors, they put me on to something called MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reductions, lots of meditation and being mindful and just being aware of stuff. And it was a massive help. So, how I'm living, like what I'm eating, I stopped drinking alcohol, just keep fit as well. I cycle a lot, I run, I walk.
That seems to be the number one thing that people are saying, with everything else can work for some people, but vigorous exercise seems to work for a lot of people. And actually, that can be whatever you want it to be. That might be chucking in some earplugs and absolutely going for it on a night out.
So it's just doing those kind of things. And again, just being mindful when I am in loud situations. I have my earplugs that I wear, my ACS earplugs.
I mean, I've turned this into a career. All I ever wanted to be was a musician. That if I couldn't do that anymore, as I thought at the time, what am I going to do? But so it's making good from bad.
Yeah.
I think hearing protection is important for all musicians, any staff in a loud environment. I work with some loud machinery when I'm making guitars, and if it's not an environment where you're wearing a high-vis jacket and a hard hat, people forget about PPE all the time, especially in sort of small grassroots venues, or if it's craftsmen that work on their own. People forget, or they, for whatever reason, choose not to. And those are the people that I see suffering first, and then you hear them asking for help and it's a bit late.
Finding the perfect earplug is really difficult, as you know, because you are trying to reduce the sound by enough to protect your hearing, but not by too much that you dampen or over dampen the sound quality. And you also want to find an earplug that's good enough to reduce that sound across all frequencies so you don't get a distorted sound.
So I wear ACS earplugs, have done for a long time, way back at the tail end of the 90s, I think, from a place in Harley Street at the time I was going to getting the moulds made. I started off on the 15s, I think it was at the time, and then from those kind of went up to the 25s, got so used to those that I now, for probably past 10 or 15 years, I've been wearing like a full block, so it's just like a rubber bung that I put in my ear. But again, I'm used to those to the point where I can hear absolutely fine to DJ with them. I wear them when I'm going out, if I'm just in a loud pub, that sort of thing. But yeah, they're essential for me. I take them with me everywhere. They just sit in my pocket and don't leave home without them, basically.
So I got my earplugs through the Musicians Hearing Health Scheme, and it was so easy to sign up. I sent in my email and filled out a few details in a form online, and they got back to me. They scheduled my appointments. I had my ears molded, I had my ears tested, and then they also gave me the options of how much noise I wanted my earplugs to block, which I think was a really cool feature. I didn't know that you could get custom earplugs like that before. So they really took the time to explain what the process was, what essentially I'll be purchasing. Within literally a month, I had my earplugs to help support my DJ journey.
Brilliant. I know now that I go into a loud environment, instead of using foam plugs, I've now got a proper set that's going to help me keep longevity on my hearing. Because that's quite crucial as a DJ, because you need to hear how to do your transitions and your mixes. So if you're losing that, then you're not going to sound very good as a DJ just doing stuff like that,
I like the fact that you had the option to choose what colors you had. I mean, I chose a color that was similar to my skin tone, and people can hardly tell that I have it in until I have to unplug it and say, hello, what did you say? I think it's really good that I can still hear the music, I can still, I'm still able to have a conversation, but it's also reducing the amount of sound that's traveling in my ears every single weekend. So in the long run, I know it's protecting my ears, it's protecting my hearing, especially as I'm working every single weekend and I'm surrounded by music.
Knowledge, attitudes and practice regarding noise safety in the dance industry. You'd be surprised how few people really know the ins and outs of what they should be doing. Yes, there are venues out there that are really proactive and have been since the early, 2015. Most of the DJs that I interviewed who DJ niche sounds are mainly faced with really small venues who don't have the money to invest in sound systems, didn't feel like they could speak up or say anything for fear of not being booked again.
Any other industry, if you were somewhere where it was, a hazard that can damage your health, you'd go, I'm not going to go in there. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to do it. I won't mention the club, we did sound pressure readings in some of the booths. In any other industry, you wouldn't even walk in the room.
No.
Do you know what I mean? But you don't want to make a fuss, but I think it should give people the confidence to go, my ears are my job.
Yeah.
So can you do something, do something about it?
Anywhere that has live music or plays music to the public needs to take responsibility for the noise levels.
If you had decibel readers around the club, it was suddenly people start asking about it, wondering what it is, and it would be there for everybody to see. That's how loud it is here at this point in time. Some of the security staff I interviewed who work at festivals, especially those who work in the pits, which is between the stage and the crowd where the barrier is, they were sometimes given foam earplugs. Often they took their own. But even then, because they have the headsets and they have to listen to instructions and talk to customers, they have to take hearing protection out. And so they're just exposed. And then they do long shifts. They can't take a break. And if they do take a break, it takes them 20 minutes to go somewhere quiet for a break. Same story with bar staff, especially at festivals. And a lot of the bar staff that I interviewed didn't really understand how hearing is damaged. So I asked them about, for instance, their inductions. Was there anything specific for noise safety? It's like, no, it's just trips and slips.
Life is Loud is my kind of little passion project for dance floor fans, a place to go for lots of information and useful practical tips. The World Health Organization say that to be within your safe level limit, you need to spend 1 hour and 45 minutes in a loud music venue playing 100 decibel sounds, per month. The average dance floor fan spends 5 to 6 hours per visit. And if you look at all the literature, it's 18 hours per month. So dance floor fans are, blitzing through the safe loudness level limits. So if you enter a club, it's almost imperative that you wear earplugs. Tinnitus, noise damage, hearing loss, hyperacusis. There is a big symptom burden. The attendant sequelae of that is poor sleep, low mood, depression, and even with hearing loss, we know that there is a correlation between midlife hearing loss and onset of cognitive decline. And so I think it's a very important issue that needs to be taken more seriously, and I think gets overlooked.
We need a culture shift overall in new people coming into the industry. And I don't know, there isn't a centralised database for health and safety practices that could be like a positive thing that people could upload. That's one of my harebrained schemes. I just think, something that where we get the message across that's not doom and gloom and positive. It's getting the message of responsibility to each other across.
You are literal sound healers. I think it's really important to understand what it is that you're making and how essential your art is. It's not just entertainment, it's essential for health and well-being.
Tinnitus and the after effects of sort of sound damage are thought of as an old person's problem in the same way that arthritis is, and a lot of people in a lot of industries, not just music, but performing industries especially, tend to ignore those issues because, I don't need to think of it right now. When in actual fact, putting the stuff in place early on, like starting a pension, the earlier you start it, the longer you should be able to continue with it the way you are.
Kids are going to be like, oh, it's something that happens to old people, but my daughter, who's not even 23, has got tinnitus.
I think without a doubt, hearing health should be embedded in the national curriculum.
I think this should absolutely be embedded into education. It's so important for, particularly as you get older, your hearing is naturally going to deteriorate. If you've got tinnitus, that will probably get worse. Everything needs to be focused around awareness about what tinnitus is, how you get it, before you've got it.
When you don't have it, you don't think about it. All it takes is just that one moment, that one, little bit of extended time that you're there, that you're next to the speaker, in my instance, next to a monitor speaker, and again, speaking to other people since the panel, it is that bit where you wake up the next morning and it's like, gosh, that sound's still there that normally goes away, and then it's there the next day and the next day. So it can happen, and the sooner you take charge of looking after your hearing, of protecting your hearing, the better it's going to be for you in the long run. You're not going to end up like us lot with like a ringing going on in the head. So yeah, my advice would be get yourself some proper earplugs and look after yourself, because no one's going to do it for you. You've got to take control.
You only have one set of ears. It's really important, and they're like any sensory organ, your eyes, your ears, you should protect them, look after them. If you get any ear symptoms, go straight away to see someone about it. Don't wait. And a set of earplugs don't cost a lot of money. It's worth it. It's worth the investment.
Invest in a product that's going to protect your hearing to give you the longevity to do what you love doing.
I think that, protecting your hearing, having it as an essential sense, I don't think that we necessarily look at it sometimes as an essential sense, but it absolutely, in my opinion, is. So we have to do everything that we can to protect it. Plus, even if you're at a festival and you're at the front and the stewards are giving out the foam earplugs, even that is better than not having them. And okay, you might think that they don't look very cool, but it's certainly not very cool to potentially get to a point in your life where you want to end it.
It's never too late.
Protect your hearing as soon as you can.
Hearing protection, absolutely vital. Don't go anywhere without them.
Buy earplugs.